With winter fast approaching, I thought it was appropriate to return to the fireplace for another cozy Commissioner's Corner. We have 5 teams tied at 6 and 3, and a few others holding on to hope outside of the top 6. As for this week, it was a pretty poor showing all around, but let's take a closer look. A beautiful game to start the reviews with. The first of our big playoff matchups, and potentially the closest matchup we've had all season. I was able to come away with a 2-point victory after a solid showing by Najee Harris on Monday Night Football. Paul was giving me crap all day about how it was guaranteed that Najee would score 14 points and there was no chance I would lose this game, as if I didn't finally take the lead with like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'd say that's a pretty close matchup. And the MVP of this close matchup is probably Paul's trio of wide receivers who combined for 7.9 points. Not even a Nick Chubb nearly 30-point outburst could overcome that. And with this loss, Paul has a very hard strength of schedule remaining. So difficult, in fact, that even though Jeff is 2 games behind him in the standings, ESPN actually gives Jeff an almost 20% higher chance of making the playoffs. We're going to need to see if Paul can hold on to that 6th playoff spot that he's currently in. Here we have Kelsey absolutely gifting Skip a victory. I thought it was bad enough when she didn't start Darren Waller on Thursday night, but then she doubled down by not even starting a quarterback that was playing. She's going to use the excuse, oh, I'm so busy, my schedule, blah, 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 as if Ryan didn't just point out that like half our league is medical professionals just like her. That excuse doesn't work. Over here, Skip had a rare down week and didn't get a single touchdown out of any of his position players. However, he was left unpunished and escaped with an 85-point victory. He's comfortably in the league lead and is just hoping to avoid injuries at this point in the season. Here we have 2 teams battling to remain relevant in the playoff race, and Zach getting a huge victory over Ryan. A big day out of the Browns D, which probably made Zach happy on multiple fronts, and a solid waiver wire pickup in Christian Kirk the week of the games helped lead Zach to victory. Ryan made a questionable decision leaving George Kittle on the bench after his return from injury, and he also had a rare down week out of wide receiver 3, Jamar Chase. An interesting point here, both teams combined only had 2 touchdowns in their starting lineup. They're going to need to do a lot better than that and go on some big winning streaks if they want to make a playoff push here at the end of the season. Although it says Jeff has over a 50% chance of making the playoffs, this loss to Chase was a huge hit to that in our second playoff-defining matchup of the week. Chase got off to a hot start with Jonathan Taylor scoring 33 points on Thursday night, and he really didn't look back from there. Jeff had a solid showing out of Joe Mixon, who's actually been a stud after a lot of us passed on him during the draft. Unfortunately, though, he had to start Derek Carr because of Tom Brady's bye week and Aaron Rodgers taking medical advice from the ex-host of Fear Factor. Jeff's going to need to do some critical thinking of his own if he wants to make a push down the stretch. What a matchup we have here. Brian holds on to whatever dream of a playoff spot he has with a conveniently timed matchup against Tim. I'm honestly not sure what to say here, as both teams did pretty poorly. I guess for Brian, he's hoping Mahomes and Zeke turn it on and he goes on a miracle run. I mean, Tim's just looking forward to being able to make fun of whoever the first is to lose to his absolutely god-awful team. That is, if he's even able to get a victory this season. Lastly, we finally have 2 teams that put up a competent week in our final playoff-defining matchup. The dreaded Washington football team off week got Crikey's bench looking like an NSYNC song. Bye, bye. Yeah, y'all get it. They still put up a pretty good week with almost 40 points out of James Conner. But Brittany had 2 solid performances out of lesser-known players in Hunter Renfrow and Pat Freiermuth. Her defense and kicker combined for 30 points, and Lamar put up a 30 spot himself, which gave her the high score of the week. This matchup rounded out the week and left us where we currently are sitting, which is a 5-way tie for second place. Every matchup is super important with only 5 weeks remaining in the season. To see if anyone separates themselves from the pack, make sure to tune in next week for the Commissioner's Corner.